So they're the kind of things. So how many of you guys look at your statistics? How many of you look at the statistics and say, gosh, I wish I knew what that meant? What you need to do is to come up with, and here's another bit of jargon for you. These are called key performance indicators, KPIs. And you're going to say, so for my business, my key performance indicator is the number of inquiries we get. And actually, we then take that and we say how many of those inquiries convert into customers. Does that make sense? And I know that typically, actually, our conversion rate's quite high. So I know if we're getting, let's say, 30 inquiries a month, all I need to do is get the number of inquiries up to 40 or 50 inquiries a month, and I'm making a lot more money. Does that make sense? So for a lot of us, we're not talking about big changes. We just need more of the right kind of customers coming to the website. So the KPI might be the number of inquiries. The KPI might be the number of visitors coming to the site. The KPI might be the number of search engine searches that bring visitors to your site. So it really depends what your business objectives are, what these KPIs are going to translate into. Okay. By the way, there are, Google Analytics do accredit consultants to help you to set up analytics, and I'm an analytics accredited consultant, but that's something to think about. So taking a look at your stats. Okay, have I confused you yet? Everybody okay? So we've talked about design, we've talked about content, we've looked at your stats. The other thing I'd like you to take a little look at is the technical performance of your site. Technically, how are things working? And what you can do here is say, does it work? Can people make inquiries easily? Can I book a place on your training course? Can I get in touch with you? Does the functionality actually work? And the other technical thing that you might want to think about is how quickly does your website load? You all want to rank well in Google, don't you? We're going to talk about Google in just a moment. But one of the things that, effective of May this year, that Google now takes into consideration when it decides who gets to be number one and who gets to be number two, Google takes into consideration how quickly your website loads. Now, a lot of web designers are going to say to you, well, let's rewind. How many of you are all on broadband? I'm on broadband. How many of you would agree that being on broadband has actually made you even more impatient? You just want those websites to load like that. You want them to load quickly. So if a web designer says, don't worry about your site, everybody's on broadband, everybody's not on broadband in the United Kingdom. How many of you, I don't have mine here, how many of you use a little mobile phone to access the internet? Is this quick or is this slow? Slow. So we're thinking about, speed is still very important for a number of different reasons. And one of the things that some of you might like to do is use a free piece of software that's available on the internet called websiteoptimization.com. And what this service will do is crawl through and tell you, using its free web speed test, if I can find it. Yes, they've rearranged the site. I'll see it.
Web page analyzer?
Maybe. We'll try. Anybody want to be my victim? www. Anybody think it's a slow site?
Dingley-dell.com.
Dingley-dell.com. You ready, Freddie? Yeah. So I'm going to put that in there, and in the meantime, we'll take a little look at dingley-dell.com. Okay, and here that loaded pretty well, and here's what we can do. Can you see that they are undoubtedly the best? What's the stonking lovely trust signal in the top left-hand corner? Union Jack. Does that make you guys feel good? Made in the UK. It's quite nicely done. Use of colors, nice use of imagery, rule of threes, white background, sans serif font, not a lot of writing.
Too much writing.
Maybe a little bit too much, yeah. The one thing I would suggest to you as well is that research shows that when you censor text on the web, it makes it more difficult to read. Text on the internet should be left justified in order to make it easier to read. So here's the site that we're looking at, and what website optimization will come with, oh shoot, here we go, NGXNK. Is that right? This is going to crawl through this page and see just how quickly does this website load. It's thinking deep thoughts, trust me. Okay, now what it's going to do is it's going to weigh the site. Generally, what slows a website down are the pictures, are the images. And it's because the images have not been compressed correctly in order to load quickly. And as a general rule, your homepage wants to weigh about 200K. You guys heard of kilobytes before? So you want your site to weigh 200,000, 200K in weight. And I can see that this homepage weighs 341K. So that's more than a third of a megabyte. So this means this could be, if somebody were on a slow connection, this page could be fairly slow to load. And what it will then do is it'll say to me, okay, if somebody is on a slow internet connection, what speed is your internet connections? Do you guys know? Well, what speed do you think you're paying for from BT? I used to work for British Telecom, I'm allowed to say these things. You probably think you're paying for 8 megabits, aren't you? That's what you think you're paying for. And what are you probably actually achieving in terms of speed? 2, okay? Yeah, probably most of us are achieving 2. So if we're on a very slow line, this page could take 9.21 seconds to load. Is this a long time to wait? Shall we sit quietly and see what 9 seconds actually feels like? Getting bored yet? Fed up? Clicked away? We're not even there yet. Does that make sense, you guys? Speed is really important. So as we take a look at this, what this will then say is, here is your culprit. There is an image on the home page, and here it is, and this image weighs 127K. So this image has essentially blown the budget. And if we click on it, we can take a little look. You're sorry that you gave me your address now, aren't you?
Not at all.
We click on it, and that image, do you guys remember that? That was that small one that fits just up here, wasn't it?
No, it's one further down.
It's even further down.
Yeah.
That image weighs 127K. That picture has not been compressed correctly. So if you were to compress that one image, you would easily come under that 200K threshold. Now what this will also then do, and this is really going to drive your web designer nuts, is it's going to produce a report that says, I'll go scroll down to the bottom, in red and in green. It's going to tell you what's good about your website design. So it says here, the HTML is good, and the cascading style sheets are good. So the technical geeky stuff are good. However, in red, there are 37 objects on this page, and that there are 32 images, and that there's too many images, and it's just going to take too long to load. If you run this report, is this going to make your web designer like you?
No.
If you run this report, are you going to mention my name?
No.
Okay. They are not, your web designer is not going to like this report. Now, my grandmother, who died recently at 100 years old, said, you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. Are you going to hit your web designer on the head with this report? No. What are you going to do? You're going to say, how can we work together to speed my website up? It is important that my users have a fast user experience. Does that make sense? You don't go say, you stupid man. And that's what a lot of you guys do when you show you this report. So what this will do is to show you what potential you have to improve the speed at which your website loads, and this will give a much better user experience to the people coming to visit your site. Now, what I also wanted to mention to you is on my website is, and I'm not trying to sell you anything, our address is www.hallam.biz. It's on the front of your notes. But just so that you know, in the website, there's a section called Client Area. There's a navigation sitting there. And on the right, there's a menu choice that does say Business Link West Midlands Online Marketing. And in here, I am putting links to things I'm showing you today. Does that make sense? So here's the link for the website optimizer that I've just used.